Ranking up in Marvel Snap is about a heck of a lot more than simply winning or losing. In fact, it's possible to win 70 to 80% of your games and still not really gain any rank. And by the same token, it is possible to win only 20% of your games and actually climb the ranks. In fact, ranking up effectively in Marvel Snap comes down to more than just building good decks, although that is important. Check out this video to see how to do that, especially if you're still collecting cards in Pool 1, this video will help you. But wait, don't leave yet, because you need to learn about how to snap. And I don't just mean how to press the button sometimes and make the cool sound, but I mean really how to snap. Marvel Snap's snap mechanic allows you to compete for 2, 4, or 8 Cosmo Cubes in a game instead of just the default one. But utilizing the snap correctly is actually a heck of a lot deeper than you'll initially think. And learning how to squeeze every cube of value out of your opponents is actually key to getting to that illustrious infinity rank. If you can't do that, you're probably just going to fall short. For example, in a game where nobody yet has snapped, it's very easy to look at the board at the start of turn 6 and think to yourself, oh yeah, I've definitely won this. You'll then snap yourself, likely, and your opponent, if they know what they're doing, they'll just retreat and sacrifice the 1 cube. Maybe it would have been better for you to not snap and potentially take 2 cubes for ending the game. Better yet, maybe you should have been able to snap a little bit sooner when your opponent still thought they had a chance and were more likely to call your bluff. Well, not bluff in this situation, I guess. A snap is only going to work if your opponent still believes they have a chance to win. If the board state is obvious that they've lost, they won't play along. But stop right there, because there is a more important factor to snapping than that. And that isn't knowing when to snap. It's knowing when to retreat. It's not super relevant at lower ranks, but when you face opponents that know what they're doing, they're probably not going to be snapping unless they have a pretty big advantage over you. Every time your opponent snaps, you should stop and take a good think about the current game position and think, do I have any tricks up my sleeve? Do I have any surprises? Or has my opponent read what I'm going to do and am I just about to lose? And if you're not confident you're going to win, give up the 1 cube and go play another game. In fact, as you go higher through the ranks, you should be retreating most of the time when your opponent snaps, unless you're feeling extremely strong. Look, I know this is much easier said than done. You know, you're in the game, your opponent snaps, you're thinking, oh, I'm not too strong, but I don't know if my opponent is either. What have they got? And you want to play on, and I get that. And in fact, you should play on. Yes, you will lose more Cosmo Cubes, at least at first, but playing on and playing these losing positions will help improve your game knowledge and give you a better understanding of when you should retreat and why. And it's also fun to see the game to its conclusion. When you're new and you're still learning and you're not too bothered about rank, then yeah, of course, just play it out. And again, playing it out is great practice. Although you won't gain as many cubes that way, it will increase your game knowledge, it will help you learn all of the different endgame scenarios and know what to look out for. Ultimately, snapping all comes down to game knowledge. If you have learned every card in Pool 1, if you're still in Pool 1, you've learned all the cards, you've memorized everything your opponent could have that could beat you right now, and you don't think it's likely your opponent has it, then you're in a great position to stay in the game. And you'll learn that over time. It's pretty easy with Pool 1 because most of the cards are quite basic. When you add Pool 2 into the mix, it complicates things a little bit, but there's only 20 odd cards in Pool 2, so it's not crazy. But once you get into Pool 3, there is a lot to learn, and you're going to lose a lot of cubes while you're learning what all of these new cards do. If you want to go one level deeper, it's great to learn when certain cards should be saved and played on the final turn to surprise your opponent. Sometimes cards like Claw, for example, in Pool 1, can just come out of nowhere and win you the game that they thought that they had locked up. In fact, tricking your opponent into thinking they've definitely won and then having that one combination of cards that counters them is the perfect way to get 8 cubes. If your opponent is certain that they're going to win and you've got that trump card they haven't considered, congratulations, you are stealing all 8 of them bad boys. Which means the best type of deck to use in Marvel Snap is a deck where you can trick your opponent into believing that you are behind and then you suddenly win the game. And there are decks that you can build with an aim to do that. Cards like Shang-Chi, for example, are great comeback mechanics. I personally like watching the Cerebro decks where you play cards that only have 3 power, and then finally on turn 6 you jam Cerebro and another 3 power card and buff your whole board. It's especially fun if Professor X had been played earlier to lock down a board that you were losing at the time, but playing Cerebro buffs your side of that board so that you win that zone. There are certain cards in the game that allow you a particularly large power swing. Anything that you can play cheaply with a large amount of power can definitely catch your opponent off guard. I mentioned Claw earlier, but once you get to pull 3, Dr. Doom is an even better Claw, allowing you to put a 5 power card, well, everywhere. Even in Sanctum Sanctorum, where usually cards can't be played at all. Death alongside Wave is one of the best late game combos that will catch your opponent off guard, as anyone not expecting Death will be in for a shock. After Wave, she can consistently be played on turn 6 along with any other card, and that can lead to some insane end of game power swings, exactly the type that we're looking for. Like Cerebro, Spectrum can be used in an ongoing deck for that last minute power swing, and Blue Marvel, though not quite as powerful, can be used in the same way. For a slightly more niche surprise, end the game by moving your opponent's cards around. Magneto can occasionally put a last minute wrench in your opponent's plans, and Juggernaut can be very helpful if you can put him on a location where you're already winning, if you suspect that your opponent is about to put their powerful thing there to overtake you. In fact, the element of surprise is one of the reasons that I'm not personally a big fan of move decks, because they all end in the same way, jamming Heimdall and moving all of your cards to the left. Any seasoned player that understands how move decks works knows when they've been beaten and knows when to quit, saving those precious cubes. Honestly, there's some very cool things you can do to trick your opponent into thinking they've got you beat, and then actually getting the one up on them. But it comes down to game knowledge. A player that is better is just a player that's learned more cards and knows what to expect. And the more you play, the closer to that you will get. Of course, you should also check out my videos on how to dominate in Pool 1 and how to unlock cards quicker. These things will help you out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.